Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills. Is this up to 2.5 now? Bills by 2.5 at home against the undefeated 9-0 Chiefs. The Bills are 8-2, of course. There's a lot here. The rivalry, the history. The Bills generally have more success in the regular season than they have in the playoffs against the Chiefs. Every year we get this game. Bills won the regular season matchup last year. That was 20-17. That was the Kadarius Toney offsides play on the Travis Kelce lateral that negated a touchdown. But then in the divisional round, the Kansas City Chiefs, the first road game of the Patrick Mahomes era, a playoff road game in Buffalo, the Chiefs got the win 27-24 on their way to the Super Bowl. So always a lot at stake when it's Chiefs-Bills, 4:25 this Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, so on the one hand, it feels like Kansas City is due a loss in one of these razor-thin, close games that come down to one play. They've blocked a field goal. They've relied on a guy's toe being out of bounds. They've relied on a pass interference call. They're really close to losing a bunch of these games against good teams and have found a way to win it each time. I don't know how sustainable that is against good teams. It feels like at some point one of those plays is going to go against you. On the other hand, Buffalo is currently in the sort of Miami-Dallas world of a year ago where all their wins have come against not great teams and the losses have come against the two best teams you would say they face. Now, it's not as clean as that. I mean, Arizona is somewhere in the middle, right? Are they good? Are they not good? But I think you can look at that and say they haven't beaten a conclusively good team yet.
Yeah, I think the difference there, though, is Buffalo's history, right? We know that they've been the dominant team in the AFC East. We know that they are competing to go to the Super Bowl every single year.
But it's not, the question is not, are Buffalo good or is Buffalo good? It's more, how good are they? And when they run up against elite teams like Kansas City, are they that good?
I think that's fair. I mean, and then the Chiefs thing, I think the nuanced approach there, I pulled out the stat the other day. They're 9th in point differential, but of course first in winning percentage. And I put out the chart from True Media that shows, I mean, it's almost a perfect line of point differential to winning percentage. It's almost a perfect line. Like the Lions are directly on it. They've got the best point differential. They've got the second best winning percentage. It's almost always perfect. And then the Chiefs are this outlier where their winning percentage is way higher than their point differential should be. And the nuanced approach that I'm trying to take to this is I think over time the Chiefs will lose a couple games here and there, right? They should lose a couple games here and there, but they're still the Chiefs, right? We have this history of they find a way to win close games. They have a history of making one more play than the next person, than the next team. We've seen this with elite quarterbacks through the years. Like they might just be the difference because they might, there's been games where Mahomes hasn't played his best, but he's got a key play in the fourth quarter that is going to, put the Chiefs over the top. There's some consistency with that. Some interesting stats that I think are going to be involved in this game here. Bills offense against the Chiefs defense, that whole matchup. Remember in that game last year, the regular season game, Josh Allen had one of those plays where he's running out of bounds. He's almost completely out of bounds. Like it takes these spectacular one play here, one play there to make things happen. The Bills have the highest EPA per play against the blitz on offense. The Chiefs are the best on defense when blitzing. And then the other one that I found that might work in the Bills' favor here, Sam, Chiefs have been outstanding stopping outside receivers, but slot receivers, highest EPA per play against when defending targeted slot receivers, the Chiefs' defense. It's the worst. So the Bills, in this world where they've built a whole bunch of yak-centric slot type of receivers, is this actually a world where they can play that's going to attack a weakness, one of the few weaknesses on the Chiefs' defense?
Nice. Good pull. So it's interesting, the point differential thing. Like, on the one hand, that's one of those data points that long-term definitely screams regression. But we know the NFL is weird where even things that are going to regress at some point don't necessarily have to do it within the same season. Like, remember that year where the Vikings won like 11 straight one-score games or whatever it is. Now, they've since, like, on either side of that, effectively, they bounced back to earth. But in that one season, they were going to win every one of those one-score games, basically. So, yeah, Kansas City keeps sneaking over the line, and you're like, at some point, that's going to come back down to earth. But doesn't necessarily mean it's got to be this year.
I've seen other data points too. I mean, like, again, I'm always going to compare the Chiefs to the Patriots dynasty because it's the most recent thing that we've had here. Patriots always were really high in turnover differential. And it's like, well, they always were. That never really regressed. I think having the elite quarterback kind of changes the math on that. When you're watching the Vikings that particular year, you're not like, well, Kirk Cousins is this ultimate difference maker. Right. Of course they're going to win all these one-score games. That you expected that to revert. It might never revert for the Chiefs because I think they do have probably they have one of the best head coaches in history. They might have the very best defensive coordinator in the league. They have the best quarterback in the league in Mahomes, even if he's not playing like that. Like, all those things are true, and they've built just a really good all-around team. And the point I tried to make Monday morning, every time the Chiefs have lost, basically in the Mahomes era, other than a few games, we come in here and we're like, man, they fumbled the ball 3 times, or they had 2 drops for first downs that would have sealed the game. Like, they make drastic mistakes in crunch time, and you're like, well, that's why the Chiefs lost. They played a terrible, sloppy game. How many times did they do that last year? Just played a bad, sloppy game. They haven't played a bad, sloppy game yet this year, and they've made it to the point where when teams they don't make the mistake in crunch time. The other team always makes the mistake in crunch time. So from Buffalo's perspective, just got to play a clean game. And as much as I've loved the way the Bills have gotten the ball to Khalil Shakir, gotten the ball to Dalton Kincaid, and gotten the ball to James Cook, 4 or 5 superhuman Josh Allen plays, couple big-time throws, 3rd and 8 scrambles, leaping over defenders, making the play, roll into the sideline. Like, they probably need a couple of those in this game to beat the Chiefs.
Yeah, definitely.
And their favorite. So this happened all last year, right? The Chiefs underwhelmed a little bit stylistically, and they'd become underdogs. I'm pointing to their 2.5-point underdogs. They were underdogs, I think, against Baltimore in the AFC Championship, and then against the Niners in the Super Bowl. And it's like, no, we're the Chiefs. We're the champs. Don't sell us short here. So that'll be interesting to see what how they handle the underdog role, because they always seem to step up.
How they handle the underdog.
I mean, think about like the undefeated Chiefs this whole week. Oh, nobody believes in us. Nobody believes in us. We're underdogs. By the way, I don't think they've played in Buffalo for like 4 years other than that one playoff game. It is amazing how much things have skewed to playing in Kansas City for the most part.
I mean, it's a big game for this. So obviously Kansas City is sort of chasing all kinds of history anyway, like three-peat, all that kind of stuff. If they win this game and they're 10-0, the next game's against Carolina, the Raiders, then they get into like they're at like week 14. They're 12-0 at that point, theoretically. Not only chasing a three-peat, but potentially staring down the barrel of a season that could easily be undefeated. I mean, they've got games that they could lose, but then you get into this really difficult decision to make where their last 2 games were on the road against Pittsburgh and Denver. Neither one of those is easy. And they potentially have everything locked up at that point. Like, do you actually chase undefeated season, or do you rest starters,
I think
throwing away a potential historical unique season?
I think the players, you hear some of the rumblings about, Travis Kelce, on the podium last year, basically saying we want to come back again. We want to go undefeated. I think the players have that like 07 Patriot, because the 07 Patriots wanted to go undefeated. They wanted to play it out and do that. I think the players want that. I think they want to go down in history because what else are they?
Of course, yeah.
What else are they chasing? And I'm of the mind that I think the 07 Patriots, even though they blew it in the end, like no team's ever gone 16-0 in a regular season. I think like that's literally never happened, and I think there's something special about that. Even though you don't get the championship at the end, maybe it's winning like the NBA Cup or whatever the in-season NBA award. But I think there's something to doing something no one else has ever done. I think the Chiefs would want to chase that. But Andy Reid, Andy Reid sits his players.
The players definitely want to chase it. I mean, why wouldn't they?
And really quick, if they win this game against Buffalo, they have essentially a 4-game lead for the number 1 seed.
Right.
Because there's a 3-loss rate. It would be a 2-game lead over the Steelers. They're still going to play them. But they're very close to locking up the number 1 seed by like week 14 here. Like if the Steelers slip up at all, and then they'll have the tiebreaker over Buffalo, they'll have the tiebreaker over the Ravens. There's not much competition for the number 1 seed. They might have it locked up by week 15 here.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying is that I think the interests of the players and the decision makers would be different potentially. Now, maybe not. I mean, like I said, Andy Reid tends to sit players, but on the other hand, he's never had a shot at an undefeated season before, which is, it's historical. I mean, 2 teams have done it and only one of them won a Super Bowl at the end of it, right? Does he want to be... I mean, imagine if they actually achieve that by the end of the season, right? They go undefeated and cement it with a three-peat. That unquestionably makes them the greatest team of all time. Over a shortish period of time.
That's what they're seemingly competing against is Patriots dynasty, Niners dynasty, right. Cowboys dynasty, Steelers dynasty, all going back decades. And so they're going for it. And then on the other hand, they're 9th in point differential, and I think there's a lot of luck going undefeated to this point, which you would need, right? You would need that to pull it off. So anyway, any other key points in this game? I think it's fun. It's going to be awesome. Chiefs finally scored over 30 points for the first time in about a year. 2 weeks ago against Tampa Bay, took it to overtime. Buffalo's going to have to put points up, though, I think, still to pull this off. And I think the Bills are equipped, though. I think they're equipped to do it. So on one hand, I like the way they're set up to beat the Chiefs. On the other hand, your point about, hey, the 2 times they've really played the 2 most competitive teams, the Texans and Baltimore, they had some trouble.
Yeah. I wonder if they can really get after Kansas City's left tackle spot, which has been an issue this season. Buffalo's got some horses up front. Can they get Mahomes consistently under pressure from that area?
Denver made a lot of plays last week, rushing the passer. Now, Mahomes still made a couple special plays, like he turned a sack into a 34-yarder and things like that. But definitely something to keep an eye on with the way Kansas City has been protecting the quarterback. Von Miller, maybe? Is he, he's been back the last couple weeks. Last week had another good game. He's had 2 good games rushing the quarterback. Like, these are the games that they got him for 2 years ago.
Wanyamara should be back at left tackle, but when Kingsley Suamataia came in last week, it was Nick Bonito, who stylistically, at least, is very like Von Miller, who gave him all kinds of
Von Miller's like Nick Bonito light, so that's...
Geriatric Von Miller is quite comparable to Nick Bonito.
Prime
Von Miller, very different, but, the current version maybe is not as different as it used to be.
Keep an eye on that Buffalo pass rush. So, yeah, can't wait. It's going to be great. 425 window. Ready to make a pick?
Yeah, I'm going with Buffalo, which I was happier about when it was 1.5 than with it being 2.5.
I know. They always play these 3-point games, like literally always play these 3-point games. I'll also take Buffalo. I just think they're equipped to do it, and I'm leaning into this idea that Kansas City's luck's going to run out at some point. Has to run out at some point. Harry, though, not buying into that. 9-year-old Harry's taking the Chiefs as underdogs, and he's probably smart for doing it.
Favorites for the three-peat. Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.